September 198 AD, Liu Bei was defeated again and defected to Cao Cao. At the same time, Cao Cao personally led his army to Xuzhou, and a month later captured Pingcheng, and Lu Bu had to retreat to Xiapi. In the winter of the same year, Cao's army surrounded Xiapi. Cao Cao wrote to Lu Bu to explain his strength, and Lu Bu knew that he was no match for Cao Cao, so he prepared to surrender. However, Chen Gong strongly disagreed, believing that the city would hold on to meet the attack, and wait for the Cao army retreated after exhausting the food. At the same time, he said three should ask Yuan Shu for help. Although Yuan Shu is at odds with Lu Bu, he still understands that, if the lips are gone, the teeth will be cold. But the problem was that Yuan Shu's Huainan had long been ruined by Yuan Shu. The soldiers fled, and he had few troops to support Lu Bu. In the end, Yuan Shu sent only 1,000 cavalry, but they were defeated by the Cao army before reaching Xiapi. Chen Gong tried to dissuade Lu Bu from surrendering. It is difficult to say that he was selfless. Chen Gong himself really hated Cao Cao very much, and would rather die than serve Cao Cao again, but his personal stubbornness made Lu Bu also accompany him. If Lu Bu surrendered at this time, judging from Cao Cao's later attitude towards Zhang Xiu and others, Lu Bu might not be used, but at least he would not be killed. Moreover, Chen Gong's loyalty is not high, and he will betray at every turn, being really not a good person. As the mastermind, he joined forces with Cao Cao's friend Zhang Miao to betray Cao Cao and advocate that Lu Bu be welcomed to Yanzhou. If it weren't Xun Yu and other, Cao Cao would be homeless, and this cauldron was really vicious. After following Lu Bu to occupy Xuzhou, Chen Gong again looked down on Lu Bu. 2 years ago, Lu Bu's subordinate Hao Meng rebelled, and the city was in chaos. Lu Bu panicked, but did not know who was rebelling. Lu Bu knew that Gao Shun was loyal and upright, and he would definitely not betray him. So in a hurry, he led his family to Gao Shun's camp and hid. Gao Shun then led his troops to suppress the rebellion. At this time, Hao Meng's subordinate Cao Xing rebelled in chaos and cut off Hao Meng's arm, while Cao Xing himself was stabbed by Hao Meng. Gao Shun took advantage of the situation to rush to kill Hao Meng. After that, the soldiers carried the injured Cao Xing to see Lu Bu. As Hao Meng's general, the ins and outs of this matter must be clear to Cao Xing. So Lu Bu asked Cao Xing why Hao Meng rebelled. Cao Xing replied that he had been instigated by Yuan Shu. Then Lu Bu asked who the accomplices were. Cao Xing replied that Chen Gong was. At that time, Chen Gong was sitting next to Lu Bu, and when he heard that Cao Xing identified him in public, his face turned red, didn't say any word. Lu Bu, on the other hand, considered that Chen Gong's status was too high, so he did not pursue it. So at this time, Chen Gong again plucked Lu Bu and Cao Cao to death, and even Lu Bu's wife Lady Wei could see the subtlety. She said to Lu Bu, Chen Gong and General Gao Shun have always been at odds. How can they be a giant enemy who works together? Moreover, Cao Cao treated Chen Gong as a parent, treating him like a baby in his arms. Such generous treatment. Chen Gong still wanted to betray Cao Cao to come to us. Can you treat him more than that? If you leave your wife and children over the heavy responsibility of guarding the city to Chen Gong, once he becomes rebellious again, can I still be your wife? Unfortunately, Lu Bu finally decided to follow Chen Gong's advice and stick to it. The Cao army had besieged Xiapi for 2 months, but had not been able to conquer it. Cao Cao saw that the soldiers were very tired, and planned to withdraw his troops, but both Xun Yu and Guo Jia objected. So Cao Cao ordered the soldiers to dig ditches to divert water to irrigate the city. A month later, Lu Bu's situation was even worse. He climbed to the head of the city, and shouted, I want to surrender to the Yu, my wise lord. Chen Gong stopped it excitedly. After hearing this, Cao Cao is just a traitor. How can he be worthy of being called a wise lord? Surrender now will not save your life. Pity Lu Bu. Just like that, he was dragged down the abyss of irreparable calamity by Chen Gong. A few days later, Lu Bu's general Ho Chang and others rebelled. They tied Chen Gong up to Cao Cao and surrendered. Lu Bu led a group of soldiers and retreated to the White Gate Tower in Xiapi City. On February the 7th, 199, Lu Bu walked down the tower with capturing himself, but Cao Cao, at Liu Bei's suggestion, beheaded Lu Bu after killing him, and the head was immediately sent to Shu. Lu Bu's generals Zhang Liao and Zhang Ba surrendered, while Chen Gong and Gao Shun were killed for refusing to surrender. Since then, Chen Gong's family was been supported by Cao Cao. After Lu Bu's defeat, Yuan's situation continued to deteriorate. By this time, he was already so rebellious and his military power was so weak that he could not even pacify the rebellion. So in early 199 AD, Yuan Shu burned down the palace and fled with his family to the Qiantan to join his former general Lei Bo, but Lei Bo was unwilling to accept him. The desperate Yuan Shu had to write to his brother Yuan Shao, and this time Yuan Shu no longer called Yuan Shao a domestic slave. He was humble and respectfully expressed his hope that Yuan Shao would become the emperor instead of him. He was willing to send the jade seal of the kingdom to show his sincerity, and Yuan Shao agreed to accept him after seeing the letter, sending his eldest son Yuan Tan, the governor of Qingzhou, to greet Yuan Shu to Qingzhou first. When Cao Cao heard this, he immediately sent Liu Bei and the general Zhu Ling to lead troops to intercept the attack, so Yuan Shu could not pass through Xuzhou and had to return, and in June 199, Yuan Shu arrived at Jiangting of Shouchuan. At that time, the heat was unbearable, and Yuan Shu wanted to drink a bowl of honey water to quench his thirst, but the food in the army was only some wheat shavings. Yuan Shu sighed for a long time, and suddenly shouted, "How could I have fallen to such a point?" After saying that, he vomited blood and died, and most of his people also surrendered to Sun Che. In the same year, Yuan Shao sent an envoy to Wancheng, and asked Zhang Xiu to send troops to attack Shu Du. However, Jia Shu persuaded Zhang Xiu to surrender to Cao Cao, and in the end, Zhang Xiu was persuaded by Jia Shu to visit Cao Cao in Shu Du. Cao Cao was overjoyed, made Zhang Xiu a marquis and a general of Yang Wu, letting his son Cao Jun marry Zhang Xiu's daughter. Jia Shu was appointed as the chief of the capital guard, and the marquis of Diding village, the governor of Jizhou, the military advisor for Cao Cao, becoming an important member of Cao Cao's think tank. 199 AD was a magical year, when Gong Sunzan of Yuzhou, Lu Bu of Xuzhou, Yuan Shu of Huainan, and Zhang Xiu of Nanyang all withdrew from the stage of history at almost the same time, and Cao Cao and Yuan Shao, the two seeded players, also solved the trouble behind them at the same time and met in the semi-finals, and the small fortress of Guandu was lying quietly along the Yellow River at this time, waiting for the arrival of the two heroes.